Hey everyone, it is I, the Vince Man, the Axe Man, the very tired and not very bright man, and I'm here today to cover, uh, Jeff the Killer True Hatered. I only got like 4 hours of sleep and I'm just like feeling a little bit out of it, so I do apologize if I come off as a little ditzy. Well, a little more ditzy than usual, but before we begin, I would like to, show this real quick. Uh, Now, I remember seeing the name Jeff the Killer True Hatered, and that's how it's spelled. By the way, that wasn't a typo for the stream. It's called Jeff the Killer, and even YouTube's trying to correct me. True Hatered, and I was wondering why it sounded so fucking familiar. And then I recalled that a old friend of mine that's long ago covered it, like 6 years ago. God damn, I've been doing this for more than 6 years plus. I just want to show the reaction to that. By the way, go subscribe to Alexo's channel. I don't know, is he actually making anything new? It's annoying because the dude had a lot of talent. And he did some really cool music reviews that fortunately didn't take off as much as the creepypasta shit. Alexo, come back to internet. We love you. What's up? Another day, another dabs. It's your boy Vince. Fuck you. I would never. Well, I don't know. Maybe one day if I get desperate enough. I just want to show their reaction to this also great story. 50 minutes in.
How you you turn.
I'll never forget that. Like, that's the first thing I thought about when I remembered that he covered it, is the him and his friends like losing their fucking shit because the story is such an abomination. And the funny thing is, I don't recall a single detail about this other than the fact that it's apparently terrible. And I said, like, instead of like trying to cover this on a separate video, let's do another stream. Even though my last video I talked about, I'm going to cut down on the streams. I do too many of those. Okay, so this is a long story. And I actually contemplated getting the boys on board with this, but nah. I gotta fight my own battles sometimes. Also, I was an asshole and kept fish stick on a stick up for hours after the last time we streamed, and I felt really bad about it. The story ending was so bad that Alexo had to force his brother upstairs so he wouldn't hear it. I think I remember that too. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I hope everyone's doing dapper. I hope everyone's doing dandy. Let's get some music to really set the mood. We want everything hot and heavy. Everything sexy. Yeah, zombies ate my neighbors. Hell yeah. Is there any credits here? I really would like to know who wrote this, because this, like, the amount of... Oh, Piano Ashes, okay. Can I find any other works that they did? This is a lot of effort to put... Ooh. Oh, they actually have a Twitter. Oh, they have they animate. Okay, that's cool. Oh, the UK. I'm so sorry, Jacob. Yet another person that comes from your part of the neck of the woods. I'm 22. I live here. Woo, I love Baltimore. I think this is from a long time ago. I don't know if they're active or not. I mean, that's not terrible. I don't know. I'm not gonna lay it to the author. That's very mean. That's unnecessary. We're here to read and critique, I guess, what might be considered their magnum opus. I don't know. It's been years since she wrote this. I'm assuming it's a she. Or they. It's been years since they wrote this, so maybe maybe they look back on it and like, oh, what the fuck was I thinking? So, let's get into this. Let's stop pissing around. Let's stop muddying around. I have no alcoholic beverages with me today, only a glass of water and uh, a bag that my sister also graciously purchased for me. It's like this giant grocery bag of energy drinks, and I don't intend to drink any of them because it's like not late at night, but it's like, it's kind of late. I consider 8 o'clock rather late, and I want to make sure I get some good sleep so I can like have myself on a decent schedule. Before you start, I found something interesting. I will lay it on me, big man. I don't know if you can post links in the chat. I was trying to find some way to try to undo that because I'm not sure why that's the case. Like I assumed that I would be able to like turn on some kind of setting that would enable me to, actually like have people like post shit in the chat. Cause I actually want to see what people send me. This is a smut film, in which case, I can't like, it's not that kind of stream yet. I think I found a fanfiction account and the story is written on there, but it's under a different title. Is that right? Wait. Can you, like, hold on. I didn't even think you could, like, fanfiction. You talking about fanfiction.com? Or fanfiction.net? Fanfiction.net. Jeff the Killman. Jeff the Killer. You said. Oh, okay. Jeff the Killer, the Nightmare with Raven hair. I want to see if I can find it. Oh wait, that's Raven. Watch it be some shit that comes up with Raven from Teen Titans. Oh, okay. Oh, same person. Yeah, you're right. Hold on, let me see. Almost 6 years passed. Yeah, I think it's the same story. How long ago was this posted? 2014. That is a long time. Have they posted anything recently? Oh, this is her newest work, or second to newest work. MLP Celestia's Reign. Oh no. Author has written 4 fanfiction, 4 stories for Harry Potter, My Little Pony, and X-Overs. What the fuck is X-Overs? I'm assuming X-Overs is that Jeff the Killer story. Oh, dearie me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna haze them for that. It's been years. I don't know what they're up to now. Maybe they're working for Disney. Now let's actually get into the story itself now. This is Jeff the Killer. True. I prefer. Which would be better? Should we read it on the fanfiction.com? I'm kind of worried that something might be edited differently on this compared to this. I want to read the story in its true form, untainted, unblemished. But then again, it would make more sense to read it on fanfiction.com in that instance. And we can actually control the size of the font. Look at this. Isn't this wonderful? So let's get into this. I've said for the 5th time. Almost 6 years passed since that fateful day that changed Jeff's life forever. With his psyche destroyed, he wore his scars with pride and left no room in his cold, dead heart for remorse. His actions were what they were. His murderous ways were not evil as far as he was concerned. He was, perhaps, almost kind. He practically considered himself a savior of sorts. People, after all, were born to die. He was only speeding up the process, saving them from a cruel, empty world. Jeff woke up in a damp, dismal, abandoned warehouse he'd retreated to the morning before, just after brutally taking the lives of 3 innocent motorists. Oh, it just fucking made me think of Jeff the Killer as like Arnold Schwarzenegger from the first Terminator film. Somehow during the Spring of Lost episode, the troll story has more accurate representation of the of an intern in the Crybaby Lane scribbler suicide. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, I'm a bail if I'm not going to be imprisoned by you this time. I mean, you can stay here and enjoy the stream if you're an actual good friend who actually cares about me and my mental health. You weren't here for my birthday stream, and I didn't hold that over you because I'm a good person, but, you know, I think it's kind of says something about you that you wouldn't hang out with me when I desperately need a, like, positive reinforcement. But go on and, you know, have your time away. I'll just be here alone, crying, drinking my cup of water, I don't even have alcohol. I mean, I do, I just don't want it. Yeah. Gotta stretch it out, you know what I mean? Okay, where was I? He smiled to himself as he remembered the look on their terrified faces as the knife was plunged into their own guts. Slowly and painfully, he carved out their stomachs, their innards spilling all onto the road. He remembered the sound of their desperate cries as they choked on their own blood, and felt only pleasure as he remembered seeing his victims' faces, frozen in terror, as a light left their eyes, and he muttered those last foreboding words. Go to sleep. For the time being, his sick, twisted desire was sated, and it was time for him to move on. Ever since that night he'd so viciously murdered his family, he'd never stayed in one place for longer than a couple days. He felt confident enough that the police wouldn't find him. He was now an unstoppable force of nature, but at the same time, it was best to keep moving. There were, after all, so many people that just needed to go to sleep, ellipses. The unstoppable force of nature, like... You know, when I think of, like, personifications of natural disasters, I think of, like, creatures like Godzilla, I think of beings like Galactus, and then, like, I guess in a very close third place, naturally, would be Jeff the fucking Killer, with his very sharp stabbing knife. Doesn't that make sense to you guys? Oh, lordy. I don't know, like, that's always something that always perplexed me about the Jeff the Killer fandom. It's this weird kind of, like, grandiose portrayal of Jeff every single time. And granted, you want to have the character of the story you're reading be interesting to some degree, and you want him to actually be a tangible threat, like a real, actual menacing figure. But they go so far, they push it so far over the edge that it makes you really wonder where they're coming from. Like, it's not like the fucking Joker where it's like someone who has like all these different skills and has this weird, complicated, like, thought process that makes you, like, genuinely curious to see what he's gonna do next. It's a guy who kills people with a knife. There's nothing that interesting about him. There's nothing all that compelling about him, for that matter. I know more than a few people have, like, taken a hand at trying to rewrite the character and trying to make it into something passable, but at the end of the day, I think it's just a fool's errand. There's not really a lot you can do. And granted, I still haven't read Slimebeast's Jeff the Killer story, and I haven't read the other contents entries that were for that Jeff the Killer remake contest. But I'm fairly confident that they weren't able to do much with the character. So basically, Jeff is Neil Breen in a Neil Breen film. I think it's no, Neil Breen is like he's a compelling character, and like you feel like Neil Breen is one of those guys, kind of like and it feels weird to compare him to this, but I think it's apt, like Chris Chan, where it's like interesting to look at his work and peel back the psychology of the man behind it layer by layer. Jeff stretched himself. Where were we? Jeff stretched himself out and rose to his feet. He could see that it was still dark out and that it was raining, and had been for the most of the night, but it was really time for him to move on. He was beginning to get hunger pains, as it had been some time since his last meal, so he carefully lifted his hood over his head and headed out into the dark street. Jeff guessed it must have been past midnight, as all the streetlights had gone out. Typical in the small neighborhood and quiet streets. Jeff, being accustomed to the blackness of the night, had little trouble navigating the dark, damp streets and walked quickly to find either a 24-hour store or a gas station. The money he'd stolen from his latest victim admittedly wasn't much as he hoped for, but it was more than enough to purchase a sandwich and a train ticket out of there. Jeff didn't have to walk far before he found himself on a well-lit yet desolate stretch of road that seemed familiar. Suddenly, his attention was stolen by a loud honk of a horn. He looked across the street, eyeing an old, run-down gas station. A large neon sign that read "Gas" hung above it, it glowed an eerie red, illuminating the place and flickering from time to time. Before Jeff had a process to succeed, however, the memory hit him like a shit ton of bricks. They were driving home, returning from a disastrous family reunion in late afternoon. Everyone was tired and miserable. "Mom!" Jeff whined. "I'm so thirsty." "Oh, me too," Leo joined in. "Can't we stop for a drink?" The boy's mother, Margaret, turned in her seat to face her 7-year-old son. "Jeff, we stopped not 10 minutes ago." "I know, Mom, but I'm thirsty." Margaret turned to her father, Peter, who grimaced. "Man, I guess we could stop at the next gas station or some shit." There's a good Jeff the Killer story called Jeff the Killer 1 by 1, and I recommend it. It has some grammar errors, but the crux of it is really good. I think I might pick that for random positive critiques soon. I've been trying to. I remember. I think it was U apostrophe music that suggested Barbie.avi, and I read the story and I didn't think it was. I thought it was actually pretty all right, but I was kind of conflicted on whether or not I should actually cover the videos themselves, because you look into it and it's not really all that interesting, and the videos are kind of meandering. Not meandering. It's just that I don't see that much point to watch them. But the videos are kind of synonymous with the story itself, I think. But at like 30 plus minutes altogether. As they pulled into a rundown gas station, Jeff stared out the window. He looked through the store window and saw a man staring right back at him. He suddenly got a strange deja vu feeling. It lasted a split second, but it was enough to leave him with an odd feeling that lingered. Jeff blinked, shocked by the distant memory that had unexpectedly pushed its way into his anus, disconnected and twisted anus. It was like a different life. He was like a different person now. He felt no pain, not an ounce of remorse. As he crossed the road to the gas station, he noticed an old rusted blue truck parked in the corner of a parking lot. Though the windscreen was caked in dirt, just for a moment he thought he could make out a dark figure in the vehicle. Watching him, he turned away from the store, grabbing the last turkey sandwich on the shelf along with some bottled water, took it to the store clerk. The store clerk was an old man. He turned and looked Jeff straight in the eye. "Mom," Jeff called out from the other end of the store, "can me and Leo get some soda?" "No, I think you've had more than enough soda for today, young man," Mother called back. "Oh, well, how about some juice?" I guess. Hurry up and pick something. We've still got a long journey ahead of us. Jeff reached up to grab a carton of orange juice. Sorry, apple. I don't know where I got orange. I think I just feel like having some orange juice. A carton of apple juice, and then another for Leo as he shuffled over to the counter. The boy's mother took the cartons from them and placed them on the counter along with a few other items for the rest of the journey. The man behind the counter The man at the counter turned to face Margaret and the boys. It was a fairly old and scrawny, balding, his smile, his teeth uneven and discolored. Jeff didn't know exactly why, but the man almost scared him a little. A strange feeling washed over him. Is some kind of pedophile? Some kind of sexual deviant? Some kind of hooligan? Get, what are you, gentle? On an unrelated note, immediate convenience stores are terrible. Well, I want to defend my country, but yeah, yeah. Also, it kind of depends on where you go. Like I always tell people, if you're dumb enough to get food from a gas station, you kind of deserve the kind of stomach parasites that you get. In this day and age, how do you not know not to eat anything from there? And by the way, like I'm not usually talking about like cooked foods like hot dogs and shit like that. I'm also talking about prepackaged shit because having worked in a retail before, like in an actual chain, um, what I couldn't help but immediately notice that the things that we normally don't sell and take off the shelves because it passed the expiration date, we normally take those off the shelves for a reason because they're past the expiration date. And the stores that work, people that work at gas stations have no contracts with the companies to actually like supply it themselves. What they do is they go into chain stores, buy up as much as they can in terms of like certain sodas, not giving two shits about the expiration date, and then sell it back at their place for a trumped up price. So they don't really particularly care about the quality. They just want something, I guess, to be on the shelves for aesthetic purposes, as far as I'm concerned. Remember the first time I bought RC Cola, and I have a negative association with RC Cola because it fucked up my stomach so bad because it was like, I think a year expiration date and I was too stupid to notice it. That was also when I was too stupid to realize that you should not buy food from gas station. Or when I went to like buy like I was waiting for like there was actually one gas station store that was like close by to where I worked, and they actually did make good food early in the morning, like very fresh. And I went there and I was like cooking, like waiting for like them to cook something for me, and I was waiting for a bit, and I saw like cream and whiskey or something like that. Like it was some kind of like, some kind of alcoholic beverage that was like in this nice little fancy case. I think it also came with a glass, and I went to get it, and I brushed my finger along with it instinctively, and I saw like the huge trail of dust that got picked up as soon as I ran my finger along it. And I was like, oh fuck, shit, no. I mean, it's alcohol too, but it's also like an alcoholic beverage with cream, and I actually looked up in real time as I was waiting for my food whether or not it would like spoil, and I didn't like the responses I got. So the moral of the story is, don't be stupid and actually go eat, buy food, packaged food from actual place, a business that actually has some air of legitimacy. In that case, the petrol will be safer to eat. Probably so. At least with petrol, like, there's no false advertising. You get what you paid for. You wanted stomach sickness. You want to go to the hospital. At least that's what you want. You get what you want. Sir? What is it? Jeff turned to see his mother and heard her urgent cry. Jeff! Jeff! Jeff, come onto the road or you'll... The last thing Jeff remembered that night was waking up in a hospital room with a huge headache. Apparently he wandered into the road and had been hit by a car. He had been very lucky to suffer only a few cuts and bruises and a minor concussion. Jeff smiled wildly as he remembered this. Is this like the origin story of Kariyama from the Battle Royale novel and manga? It's like he got hit by a car and now he's like a sociopath and can't feel emotion anymore. What are you guys talking about? Talking about this Steve Wilkos and Judge Judy. What is this nonsense going on in my chat? You will focus on my scintillating voice and the story itself, or else I will I'll be very cross. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll be very upset with you, and that will weigh heavily on your conscience, tearing at your souls. I love all Christianisms. Okay, where were we? He figured that if it weren't for that knock to the head, he might not have been the person. Okay, so I was saying it as a joke, like that's that's legit what they're fucking like trying to go with. Like he got hit on the head, like he got ran over by a car when he was just a little boy, and like I all of a sudden am turned on by murdering people. He may have still been in the dark and never known his true purpose or what it felt like to take a life. He may have just been another ignorant shithead, remorseful and weak. Sir? The voice broke through his thoughts. What? Is there anything else? Jeff looked at the man, realizing that he had been the one to trigger that memory. But it certainly was not the same man for those years before. No, he said gruffly. Thank you. Are you okay, sir? The man asked concerned. I'm fine. Jeff replied quickly. That's it. There's Steve Wilkos out and down gets pasta. And the pasta is late, creepy, and some actual people in the show. I flicks between like Steve. Steve, I used to like Steve Wilkos to some degree, but like there's nothing I love more than like people like get. I like seeing reprehensible people like get publicly shamed, but then he did that thing. So that stupid shit where those guys were falsely accused of raping that girl, and he said that it was like a lesson to them to respect more women because of the way that they were talking about them. Like, oh, well, you're using all these words that you had no business using against women. It should teach you how to talk about women. Like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like this girl had buyer's remorse. She participated in a gangbang, and then she felt like a slut, and so she tried to ruin these guys' lives. Fuck them. I'm not obliged to say nice things about someone who like branded me a rapist. I don't know. I don't need to open that can of worms. I think it goes without saying that how I feel about that. I've gone on about it like innumerable times about people who throw out these accusations and essentially ruin people's lives, and there's no accountability whatsoever for them. You can't even countersue. Like if they sue you, you can't even countersue because regardless of any evidence that goes contrary to what they assert, you're looked at as the bad guy. In fact, it actually makes you look even more guilty that you chose to fight back. Like there's a whole shit that happened with Vic Mignogna. Like people were kind of they were arguing like, well, Vic just kept his head low, and minded his own business and didn't do anything. He would have been welcomed back in conventions like over time. Like the shit that you accused him of and the terms and the language you chose to assign to this guy, no, the fuck he wouldn't. Like, in fact, if he was everything that you claimed he was, I would actually like look down on you if you even would entertain the thought of inviting him back. So it says something about like that's what made me not believe into any of those accusations. That it's when it's like, and I know you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, and she's had a hard life herself, but I was watching like an interview with China, rest her soul. And she was talking about all the shit that her ex-boyfriend, Sean Waltman, a.k.a. X-Pac, allegedly did against her. And she was talking all this shit and, like, making fun of him. And then they took a call when he was on there. And he was, like, trying to refute some of the things that she said. And she didn't do a very good job walking about. But the one moment that I distinctly remember was that... he says like I would be willing to drive down there and do a lie detector test if you want. And granted, lie detector tests aren't like completely concrete. Like they're still they don't prove a lot. Like they can. There's a good chance that you can like fake your way through one of those. But immediately the moment that came up, she wanted to change the subject, and like all of a sudden she wanted to move past it. And it's like moments like that where it's like you said you wanted to prove those, like, I will. You say this and you're not willing to like stand by it. You're not willing. Like if I consider someone like a reprehensible, like horrible, garbage human being who is like a pederast or a rapist. If I 100% with my whole mind and body and soul believe that, I will 100% like actually, I'll try to stand by that to the best of my ability. Like I'll die on that hill because it's what I feel, and if the evidence points to it, I'll bring up the evidence because it's one of those things where I feel like, okay, well, this person is potentially dangerous, so I think that it's important for me to stand by this issue because more people need to know about the kind of person they are, so they don't end up getting hurt by them. But then you have all these people like, we're coming out, we're speaking out against this dude, and then the next thing you know, nothing comes from it. And they're talking about like, oh, well, I didn't want him to hurt himself. Like, you called him a rapist. I have no problem wishing... I'll say this straight up. If you're a rapist and pedophile, I have no problem wishing you dead. But, like, these people, they have no... Like, the moment he's like, do you wish him ill? It's like, no, I would never do that. Why not? Like, you should wish a rapist ill. You should wish him, like, jail time or even, like... it sounds fucked up, but I have no problem wishing, like, legitimately wishing, like, bodily harm on them. Because that's one of the worst things you could possibly do to someone. And I think that once you cross that bridge, you've basically forsaken your right to any human decency. But all of a sudden they have human decency when it comes to this. Like, well, I can't say that I want something bad to happen to him. It's not like... It's not humility. It's not like them trying to be demure. It's, I just consider it like weird subconscious guilt where they want to drag his name through the mud. But at the same time, they have just enough decency that, well, they can't bring themselves to pull the trigger, if that makes sense. I don't know why I got on this tangent. There's something about Steve Wilkos and it go all the way to here to Vic Mignogna, whatever. This is why I'm not assuming Little Mosey did a crime he was accused of this week. Someone could easily lie about stuff. Who's Little Mosey? What was he accused of? I don't really keep up to date when it comes to all this shit. My field of interest is very, very slim. You could ask any of the lads who talk to me. I talk about like a very specific handful of things, and I don't really broaden my horizons when it comes to subject matters. Got tunnel vision. If you have no respect for the lives and bodies of others, you forfeit any respect you might have deserved for your own, in my opinion. I wholeheartedly agree. And again, it says something about these fair amount of like fault. It's something about people who like put out these false accusations, or I can't say that. Like I'm not going to demonstrably say 100% that they're false because I don't think there's any way to like concretely to prove it as of yet. But it says something about a few of these people throwing out some of these accusations that they're not willing to stand on that hill. They're not willing to completely commit. I think it's entirely natural of a response to have animosity towards people who do what you accuse, these things you accuse them of doing. Like, it's like the whole shit with Jesse Smollett, where when he was like, oh, I got beat up in the street by these Trump supporters wearing MAGA hats, and they throw bleach on me and they tied a noose around my neck, and it's like, okay. Cause I remember when I first heard that, I was like, oh shit, that's terrible. And then you watch the interview, and it was like, okay, I see what's going on. It's fucking, well, because the story was already like hard to believe as it was. But I was like, you know what, like, weird shit happens all the time, and he was in Chicago, like, anything could have happened, There's a lot of hole in this story, but then he cemented it with his fucking interview, where they're like, well, what do you think about, like, how badly do you want them to catch the guy? Like, I just want people to learn from what happened to me. Like, You were assaulted in the street in the middle of the night and almost lynched. I would, and you want to move on from it. Go fuck yourself. This fake ass bullshit, you phony motherfucker. Fuck you. You can't. It's some fake demure. No one, literally no one is that innocent. Hold on, let me bring up a clip real quick. Uh, oh, oh, here it is. This lady, I love this woman to death.
Did you really snatch an 86-year-old woman's purse?
She wanted to hurt me. And the bitch don't even know me.
At 86 years old, Bernice
I love
Starnes
this
is
woman to
full
death.
of spunk. She's traveled the world, seen a lot, but never anything like this.
This
I
is
hope
some
that
real
they
shit.
beat her ass. Some of the women in prison beat her ass every day for long as she's in there.
Some people might say that's harsh.
Well, so what she did to me was even worse.
Tonight, Bernice
That's fucking gangster. That's real. That's some real shit. Like, I'm up in age. I'm helpless. You stole from me. And I think even she shows in the video, like, she didn't even, like, try to take the money. I think she'd, like, right here.
piece of trash.
She took the purse.
With Adrian, Terry, and
And then she threw it in the fucking trash
They would
because she's a fucking bitch. And she's a horrible person. And, like, why? And even the reporter, like, tried to, like, being like, oh, well, some people say that's harsh. Like, fuck off. Like, I'm the victim here. What do you mean? Like, I'm not allowed to be upset that I was wronged? I can't fucking move. Like, why is there some like all this sympathy for people who do shitty things like that? I'm just saying. God, I'm gonna like this right now. Actually, that lady, that old. I hope, God willing, I live to be that old, and I live to be able to basically speak my mind like that freely. That woman was 116% gangster. Yeah, I keep getting off the topic. Off the topic. I'm fine. He replied, quickly pulling the hoodie over his face. But before the man could say another word, he left the store. He doesn't know how lucky he is, he thought to himself. I could have taken his sad life away from him right then and there. It would have been so easy. As he walked across the parking lot, he noticed that a blue truck was still there. He glanced at it for a moment before the engine suddenly roared to life, the headlights almost blinding him, and a truck sped past him, ripping through a puddle and soaking Jeff from head to toe. He just stood there and watched the truck race out of the parking lot and down the road at alarming speed. Fucking dick! He growled furiously once he recomposed himself. Being soaked was something that he had become accustomed to, but seldom was he ever caught off guard like that. He stomped irritably down the road, cursing under his breath, the anger growing in his guts, his red-hot rage could feel return that mistakable desire, the need to kill. I've been itching to drop a lyrical warley, so I'm going to drop a diss track on Dream Stands. I feel my best bards are in this song. I didn't even know you did that kind of stuff. It's apostrophe music, so I guess I can infer that you do music, but I didn't know it was the hippity hop music. I mean, like, I'm not really gonna go too hard on Piano Ashes because so far, aside from I think this is head and shoulders above other Jeff the Killer stories in terms of, like its verbiage and stencil structure and whatnot. So I think she definitely had a lot more talent than a few other people. Again, the fact that she chose to write a Jeff the Killer story and write it like this and like put him up on a high pedestal like this, I think it's just like a wasted talent more than anything else. But I don't know. We'll see if this gets any better as we go along. So far, I'm not hating this. I think it's like just kind of up his own ass in regards to the characterization of Jeff, and that's it. And again, that could be more attributed to Jeff as a character than anything else. The time was right. He moved on. Wait. If he so chose, he could walk. The version you're reading is the polished version. Well, yeah, it's fine. I like people like being able to like having the wherewithal to actually go back and actually look at their stories and see what didn't work and tidy it up a bit. Fuck, I didn't do that. And now my abortion's on the fucking creepypasta.com for everyone to look and gawk at. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's called The Plague Artist. It's one of the worst things. It's one of the worst creepypastas ever. And I wrote it. And you can tell I wrote it because it has the name Vince in it. So I can't really even like act like, oh, well, it wasn't me. It could have been another Vince. And it's Vince number. So it unquestionably is me. And I actually, I don't remember what stream it was. I got the Bad Creepypasta crew to read it. And I hid the fact that I wrote it until the very end. And I basically wanted, like, I told him, like, if you hold back on me at all during this reading, I'll never forgive you. The one thing about chaos, friends, it's fair. As Jeff approached the large family house, he began to feel as though something was a bit off. But any doubts soon vanished as he heard the distinct sounds of a baby cry from the house. He smiled wildly at the prospect of an unsuspecting family soon to meet their end at his hands. These big... this man is now Jeff is Braun Strowman. Like, you'd imagine, like, giving that baby... That baby's gonna get these hands. What continuity did Jeff get brain damage? I don't know. Again, this reminds me of fucking Battle Royale. Or, like, in the novelization of Battle Royale, where he's not, like, the main villain, or the secondary villain, I guess. He's not, like, a psychopath who volunteered. He's just, like, a sociopath who does whatever. And one of my favorite things about the book that I kind of wish they did in the movie, although they couldn't have done it because of how it was characterized, is that he becomes the central antagonist, or the primary antagonist for much of the novelization, all because he flipped a coin. And, like, heads, he was going to fight against the program that was forcing him to kill other students, and tails, he would, like, participate. And it came up tails, so he decided to gun everyone down. And I just love that. A guy who had the potential and the knowledge and the ability and the skill needed to completely destroy this program if he really wanted to. He could have, but it's just luck was not on everyone's side that day. And he became like the dead ringer for this whole competition. I love Battle Royale so much. The movie and the novel and the fucking manga. It's also great. And the behind the scenes of watching that movie is great too. Like listening to the director talk about his experiences during being in war and having to like his hiding behind his dead friends' bodies and like trying to so American soldiers don't find them and like kill them. So I'm just glancing at some real quick. Ideas exploded in his mind as he considered the possibilities lying just within the walls of this house. Carefully, Jeff clambered over the seemingly newly painted gate and headed to the rear end of the house. Excuse me. He found the back door in an instant and was glad to find it unlocked. Silently, he stepped in through the door and found himself in a large, dark kitchen. His eyes, though often dry and itchy due to the lack of moisture, were well accustomed to the dark and navigated the house with the... Okay. Yeah, like... bringing up the fact that he can... Like... When you write for a character with JF the Killer's... we'll call it facial deformities... it kind of goes without saying that there's a lot of suspension of disbelief that you have to apply in order to try to really get engaged. Primarily the fact that he has no eyelids and he has no reason to not be blind. Basically, I I don't know if you could leave, or maybe if you kept like taking eye drops. I don't even think that would sustain him after a while. I could literally just go blind. You know, the infections that he would get on his face for having like cut his face without stitching him, all this shit. And when you bring up the fact, and when you bring that up and bring that to the table, like, oh, his eyes are used to having a lack of moisture, it's like, you just opened a can of worms, and now we got worms all over the place. And we ain't going fishing. So what do you do with all these damn worms? Carefully, Jeff crept into the hall. Suddenly, there was a slight shuffling sound. Jeff froze in place and listened carefully. He was sure that there was no one down here, though, and in the end, attributed the sound to the old pipes that likely ran through the less than modern house. He proceeded up the stairs. The sound of a baby's distressed cry started up again. A dim light crept through the door ahead. Jeff grinned widely as he anticipated the task at hand. Hold on. What is my opinion of the EDP situation? What do you mean, what's my opinion? Fuck him. He should go to jail. I don't understand what other take you could possibly have. He's a pedophile. He may insist that he's not, like my mama didn't raise no pedophile. Chatting and flirting and sexting a 13-year-old girl, what is pedophilia if that's not? You fucking degenerate piece of shit. You should go to jail. Neck yourself, you fat fuck. Although, like, I think the only contention people have with that whole issue is how the guys who outed him, like, went about doing it. I mean, fuck those guys for, I don't know, like, they did the right thing for the wrong reasons. Like, I don't think they care all that much about the fact that I think the fact that he's a big YouTuber and they managed to catch him on this sting, like, I'm just trying, like, I think they're more interested in the fact that, and clicks, the fact that they sat on it for so long and were trying to build it up and they were waiting for the channel to get monetized before they put it out. Like, like, at the very least, like, I shouldn't be that upset by it, because in the grand scheme of things, what they did is not even close to what he did in terms of scumbaggery. Like, it's a douchebag move, but at least they outed pedophile, so, you know, I can't be too upset about it. He proceeded up the stairs. The sound of a baby's distressed cry started up again. A dim light crept through the door ahead. Jeff grinned widely as he anticipated the task at hand. When Jeff stepped onto the landing, however, he was stopped in his tracks by the unmistakable coppery scent of death made itself known. He looked down at the floor. There, in the middle of the dark landing in the hallway, lay two bodies, one female and the other male, presumably male. Excuse me. They appear to have died due to massive head injuries, though the woman, Jeff thought, may have bled to death, as there was blood absolutely everywhere. Jeff grunted in disgust. The sight alone was not something he was accustomed to in the slightest. Unaccustomed to. The job was cruelly done. The guts and limbs were still intact, not a single look of frozen fear to be seen, though they were indeed dead. But who had gotten here before him? And what were those chances of that happening? The baby continued to cry in the room ahead. Oh God, I know what this is. I just remembered. When you say the same thing about Chris Hansen too, you monetize cancer pedophiles. I think it I think the fact that Chris Hansen did it also on the veneer of the actual, like, it helps that Chris Hansen had a career of, like, outing certain people and being an investigative journalist in the past, and he happened to pick up on To Catch a Predator as time went on. And these guys are just like, and these guys are no fucking Chris Hansen. Let's be clear about that. In regards to their investigative skill. Well, there was the one dickhead who like did the video first, like, oh guys, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and like go to our website, and they have a kind of like a precedent for basically being like attention seekers, and going past that, there was that one guy dickhead who was like asking those like half softball questions, but his friend I think did a better job of probing EDP and getting actual like answers out of him. Although EDP was, I think he could have asked that dumb fuck anything, and he would have just like went along with it. Like no denial, no anything like that. And it's kind of like when you see in those nature documentaries when like a fucking cheetah hunts a gazelle, and they catch it and they got their fangs in on their neck or something, and the gazelle doesn't fight back because it knows that fighting back will only like result in a slow death, so they just immediately submit and hope for the best, for a quick easy death. And I think that's what EPD did, or EDP, excuse me, and it was remarkably pathetic. Although, again, the fact that he's a fucking pedophile, he should have like tried to cover it up better. I'm not trying to say that, but it's one of those things where I'm watching him and it's like, I already hate you for what you did, and somehow you make me hate you even more because of how stupid you are. The baby continued to cry from the room ahead. Jeff thought it was odd that the unknown killer left the baby unharmed. He wondered who would expend so much effort to have the parents murdered but keep the child alive. He wondered if there were perhaps others in the house. Jeff carefully stepped over the bodies, fresh blood squelching on his feet, and into the lit room. There he found a small blue-eyed baby in the crib, his face red and hands balled into tiny fists. He only cried louder as Jeff approached him, knife in hand. Although tonight had been majorly unsuccessful, Jeff wasn't prepared to leave without nothing. The baby needed to go to sleep. Suddenly, something caught his eye, however. Under the baby's blanket, something illuminated dully. I don't think that's how that phrase goes. Something was illuminated, or I don't know, that doesn't sound right. Wasn't the baby sitting in the closet? Jeff moved the blanket up. I don't recall anything about the original Jane the Killer story, other than it led to one of the worst things ever, and that being anything that pertains to Jane the Killer at all, because fuck Jane the Killer, specifically fuck Jane Richardson, and I much prefer Jane Arkansas, which was unquestionably a better characterization and a lot more nuanced and was a lot better. And you know what? I don't know why. I all of a sudden changed my mind on the first Jane the Killer story we read from Quebec Repository. I think it's a masterpiece, and every other thing before it or after it was just dog shit. I know that Mr. Angry Dog does not watch my videos, and quite frankly, I don't blame him. I barely want to watch my own videos even to edit them, but I always hope on the off chance he watches this and fumes a little bit, because fuck that dickhead. That gets my obligatory fuck Mr. Angry Dog quota, off the record. Jeff moved the blanket to find what was a cell phone. Find that it was a cell phone, excuse me. As he stared at the screen, a picture of a woman with cold black eyes stared back. Don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. You won't wake up, was written across the photo text. Red text, even. What the fuck? Jeff muttered. Then, by the side of the crib, he noticed a grocery bag with some scribbled cruthing on it. Something scribbled cruthing. I'm sorry, I'm very tired. Jeff frowned as he could barely make it out at first. Jeff, it read, I know you're reading this. No matter how many innocent victims you claim or how much innocent blood you shed, I'm still coming for you at the end. All this, I'm still coming for you in the end. That ass is mine. I want your sweet boy pussy. All of the men and children you so viciously slaughtered and disemboweled, I beat you to it. I killed them not because I hate them. I imagined those victims were you as I took their lives. It was a mere vision of you that made me kill them. I never did like you, you greasy-headed, grinning, smug, arrogant son of a bitch. My black eyes may look like I'm void of vision. Okay. Big Jane Lebowski writes on groceries bags and not just notes, but full letters. Yeah, I mean, yeah. When you bring it up like that, like, it seems insanely impractical, like this weird law. Then again, it could be those paper grocery bags, but again, I think sheet paper will probably be easier to come by. At my mother's birthday, I went up to one of her friends and asked if she knew what sonnet it was, and he did. What? It's funny how many people hate Chris Chan. One of those, like, a friend of my older brother who, well, it's kind of redundant to call him my older brother when I'm the youngest out of all my brothers and sisters. Of my brother, and, like, she was, like, studying to be a psychologist. I told her about Chris Chan and the website because I thought it would be like I just wanted to hear a psychologist's opinion on the weirdness that is Chris Chan, and like how like this one dude is like one of the most documented people that ever live. And like telling her a little bit about it, like she seemed absolutely bewildered at the insanity that was Chris Chan. It was a mere vision. Sorry. My black eyes may look like I'm devoid of vision, but I'm not stupid. Just remember, the night you creep into a poor girl's room, you're gonna fall head over heels down the fucking stairs with your guts on the broken glass of the window I smashed you into. Tonight, when I reach you, evil will battle evil. Winner take kills all, and the only one who will not get out alive is you. I'm coming for you. Sleep well, ellipses. Signed, Jane the Killer. Yeah, I'm very confused about it. And oddly enough, the early characterization of Jane Richardson actually kind of flies in the face of slime, not slime, what did I say, slime piece? Mr. Angry Dog's like other characters that he's written is like a lot of his characters are like have the same like over the top Mary Sue qualities, and at the same time, like they're so like they're basically like Dexter. They only kill the good people, the bad people, and they're so good, and they only target people who really deserve it. Yet Jane Richardson, as a character, is a fucking anomaly and doesn't really make all that much sense. Jane's letter and Born of Science story feel like they belong in different continuities. I know I shouldn't expect anything, but still, it sucks. I mean, I think it's one of those things where, if I had to guess, because I remember Jane, like the early characterization of Jane the Killer, I think that was when there was a pretense of trying to make a horror character. You could still see hints of Mr. Angry Dog kind of putting his fantasy out there, like my original character who really wants to kill Jeff the Killer and like is so much better and all this shit. But it was just there. It was just like kind of vaguely there. It was kind of implied. It wasn't as overt as it later became. And once it really took off in popularity, I think that's what kind of made him like really lean into that character and how perfect she was, because I think in his mind that her popularity elevated her into a status where she was everything he wanted her to be, or something like that. If that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm articulating that as well as I could. Whenever someone mentions Liquid Hate, it reminds me of Ashen's Liquid Filth music video. I don't know what you said, Ashen's, and I thought of the YouTuber who like reviews toys and and I think food. I don't remember. I haven't seen anything about from Ashes in a long time. He was one of those YouTubers that were generally well liked by everyone, though. Like, you know, Harry Partridge, Guru Larry. I even put Kim Justice in there because Kim Justice, like, actually has a surprising amount of personality. I, it feels weird to say. It's just when people like have certain when people have certain views. We live in a day and age where if you're even slightly left leaning, like it's like some weird thing where it bleeds into everything you do. Like I think Scott the Woz is like one of the few like kind of noticeable. I think on his social media he's pretty left leaning. He's open about it, but he knows not to have that like completely inserted into every single aspect of a channel that is not at all reflective of his view of his political stances. And Kim Justice is another person, and I wish more people would adopt that mindset. You're talking about video games. You're talking about his like video game history. I don't want to hear about how you feel about the current administration or some stupid shit like that. So the idea is that when Jane the Killer became more well known, he had decided to retcon parts of the story without fixing up the original. I don't even know if it's necessarily even retconning. I think it's more he just rewrote her personality to better reflect his fantasies. Like I covered it on my channel before in past streams, and I kind of flipped my shit. He has his again. We use Quit's channel a lot in this stream, but I can't think of any other figure to compare him to. He's again Chris Chan if Chris Chan never got discovered and was more interested in horror shit. I don't even think like Quentin reviews. I don't think any. I think people take him too seriously when it comes to his political spurging, and I mean it in the sense that I don't think he's sincere about any stance he takes, and I really do mean that. I think he's one of those guys. He's always looking for new friends and a clique to hang out with. He's a lonely dude who wants to have like a circle of friends that he can hang out with and like make videos with. And this new wave of social justice, I think that's just another angle he wants to take. I think he chose poorly because he's in a demographic he's in a certain YouTube demographic that isn't all that accommodating to people like him. So, you know, it's kind of like I don't take Quentin seriously. I do find it funny how he only became interesting when he started to really start sucking, and his personal neuroses became all the more bare because, let's be honest, Quentin Reviews was never even that good. He was just like, he made middle of the road reviews, and I don't know. Good boy, where were we? I think, oh yeah, Jeff tried to murder a baby, and he was stunned speechless by Jane's soliloquy about how cats give birth to dogs or something, and now he's blown away by her epic selfie. Jeff was speechless. His initial reaction was just to laugh at how pathetic he was. But I was wondering why Jeff changed genders, but my friend actually explained it. It's because he couldn't get a woman as a man, so he thought he could do it as a woman. I don't know. Like, I resisted like referring to Christine as a she for so long, and it wasn't because like, oh, it's not a trans thing, it was a Chris thing, if that makes sense. Like, Chris has said shit about himself Christina said shit about herself for years that you couldn't buy into because she was a compulsive liar and she lives in her own head and whatnot. But that's the one thing that not only kind of makes sense with what we know about Christine, but also it. I think it's the one thing that she's always been consistent about for years now, and to the point where it's like I think it's safe to say that this is serious. This is like really genuine. The state of the mind that she's in, I think is just a consequence of it still being Chris Chan. You can't unfront that. You know what I mean? As Jeff's parents looked at the boxes, though, because I don't know, like there was a lot of signs that Chris Chan, like he wasn't he was never comfortable with his gender. He didn't like the sight of his own penis. Like he identified more with women. He was always into more like feminine, traditionally feminine shit, and he was so adamant about his heterosexuality to the point where it seemed like you could tell something wasn't right. And I don't think it was just he's got the autism, and that's what makes him so not understand social cues. Like, no, I think there was more to it. I think the reason why people didn't say that as much as they do now is because Chris is such a fucking weirdo that we thought that it basically him being like someone who felt like they were born in the wrong body seemed like it was too simple an answer for Chris, if that makes sense. But, I have a live and let live attitude. Do whatever makes you happy. Just don't hurt anyone. Don't hurt anyone unless, I wholly blame Chris Chan's behavior on his upbringing. Yeah, his parents, they're both at fault. Bob less so. He tried, but I think he gave up. I think Bob's approach to Chris was more of a consequence of his pimping up in age. Like if Bob had Chris when he was in his late 20s or early 30s, I think he would have been a lot more adamant about getting Chris like up to stuff when it comes to how he engaged people and really worked on his work ethic and whatnot. Barb not so much. I don't know. Barb is just demonstrably a bad person. Come on, where was I? Okay, I keep going off the record. I'm sorry. What happened to my music? Let's try some more music. Why don't we? Trying to find some catchy tunes. Something that'll make the ladies swoon, the panties wet, the panties drop. Gonna party until the sun stops. Oh, this is a good album. It doesn't fit at all with what I'm reading, but I'll play it anyway. Why not? This is super cartography, boys. The super cartography bros. And this is it. Oh! My fucking music player closed. That's why it wasn't playing any music. I was wondering what was happening. Yeah, fuck Barb. And it feels weird to say, but I stand by, like, she doesn't deserve a son as loyal as Chris. It sounds really weird to say considering, like, the layabout that Chris is, but I think that even with his current state of loyalty, that's still more than she deserves. Okay, Jeff's still chuckling. Lifted a knife over the butt. Jeff's still chuckling. So, he chuckled. This is Jane. So this Jane bitch was the one who left that terrible mess on the landing. And she seriously thinks she's a match for me. Jeff, still chuckling, raised his knife over the child's head, ready to plunge into his tiny form. Sorry, little guy, Jeff murmured softly to the baby, who stopped crying and now staring right back at Jeff. Life is unjustifiable irony and pain. I think it's best for us both if we just go to... Suddenly, Jeff saw it. In the very corner of the room, an old brown teddy bear, just like the one he'd had and stuffed into the corner of his room all those years ago when he thought he was too old for stuffed animals. In this room. In this house! Jeff's parents lifted the boxes upon boxes to their new house. As Jeff's parents lifted boxes upon boxes to the new house, he and Jeff were quarreling over who would have which room. I should have the bigger room, obviously, because I'm the eldest. Oh, come on. Oh, you're just 1 year older than me, Lee replied. I don't really see how that makes it fair. Well, I have more stuff, hardly. Boys, her mother called up, your dad and I need you down here to help with the boxes. Oh, just a second, you deaf cunt. Jeff yelled. Oh, how about I toss you for it? Leo suggested, determined to settle this. Jeff shrugged. Alright then, heads. Leo pulled a quarter from his pocket and tossed it. It's heads! It's heads! Jeff celebrated in a childish manner. Oh, 4 and you win! Leo sighed defeated. Boys! Their father called. Jeff lowered the knife uneasily and stepped away from the baby's crib. He scanned the room. This is where he slept. He never thought he'd see this place again. The very house he slaughtered his family in. That night, he'd finally seen the truth. There was a void in Jeff's gut that left him feeling uneasy. Yet he felt no remorse. There was no sadness in his house, only strange, empty memories that were a little more than inconvenient distractions. Slowly, Jeff found himself crossing the landing, once again stepping over the bloody corpses and into his parents' room. He turned to the light. What am I saying? Yes, let me just take a drink of water right now. That is some delicious liquid refreshment. I want to be like a Zushi Shakaraba where I just walk around advertising water on my shirt. No brand, no bottled water, just water as a concept. Let's see. Jeff slowly. The room no longer resembled its former state. Now there was a large king-size bed in the center of the room, and with deep purple sheets and curtains to match. He could barely visualize his parents laying there anymore. Next, he visited Leo's old room, which now appeared to be a guest room. The bed was positioned against the back wall and also seemed less than familiar. His brother's murder had been the true beginning of his new life. He smiled, remembering how he loved his brother and how it was Leo that had set him free. Now he knew the truth. People were born to die. Pain was a way of life. Oh, I'm just cutting myself on the edge. Wait. If this is a flashback, or is this a flash? If he is still in a flashback, or did another family get killed in the house he lived in? Oh no, this is current day, and the family got murdered by Jane the Killer. So Jane the Killer murdered other people in the house that he used to live in, basically. It's kind of stupid. Like a weird, idiotic, she just expected him to come and I mean, I guess there's some logic behind it that, serial killers tend to return to the scene of their crimes almost to commemorate the event. But she expected him to come on the exact same night that she decided to kill some people who happened to live in his house. It's like she, I don't know. That's baking on some interesting odds there. Jeff slowly found himself Jeff found himself crawling. Mine. Yes, thank you, Wario. And he turned to the light and stared at the empty bed. And no longer resembled his former state. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. Thanks, bro. Jeff murmured appreciatively. Taking your life gave me such pleasure. I'm sure it's what you would have wanted, right? Just then, Jeff heard a distinct sound of sirens in the distance. He knew that was this cue to leave. Without another thought, Jeff made haste back downstairs, hearing the baby's wails ringing in his head and out the back door. As he fled down the darkened streets, he realized that he had not come away from the house with anything. He had not taken a single life. Yet the feeling burning deep within tugged at his gut more than ever. Oh, fuck it! Not only did some whiny bitch beat him to the house, but he had been distracted. He could have spilt infant blood. It was, after all, so much better than adult blood. It was untainted and pure. It would have been a delicate job to carve his little heart out of his chest, but he would have been up to the challenge. The challenge of murdering of infants. Wonderful. Leo looking down from Evans. I should have let the cops take him to juvie. You done goofed, Leo. Or Liu, excuse me. Well, in one of the remakes, wasn't it like... didn't someone, like, explain why Leo had, like, an Asian name by saying that his mom was, like, from Asia or something like that? Morning was approaching fast. Although I don't know if that would explain... It doesn't explain a lot, actually. Morning was approaching Morning was approaching fascism, and Jeff knew that he needed to cool off. He knew that he needed to get away. The feeling was stronger than ever. But he knew that tonight would make up for it all, and would, without a doubt, be worth the wait. He would make sure of that, ellipses. Jeff made haste. Then he caught the next train out of town. His past needed to stay in the past. It was unnecessary distraction that would cost him precious time. As darkness loomed, Jeff stalked the empty streets, but something was wrong. He was somewhere familiar. It was his old school. Before he knew it, he was inside, standing at the crowded corridor. What the fuck? He muttered. I thought I left this town. What the hell is going on? He watched the kids filter through the school doors, chattering, and, well, being school kids. No one even glanced his way, which he thought was a bit odd, but then that's how it always was. Jeff the loser. Who would want to be associated with a loser kid who just moved into the neighborhood anyway? Now he knew better. This is when he saw him. Randy! What the... Jeff stared, mouth agape. How was this even possible? Randy was dead. He had taken care of that long ago. Randy, looking a lot older now, approached Jeff with a servant. Hey pal, how's it hanging? I can't do Fish Stick's impression of JFK from Clone High. He does it perfectly. Doesn't work with Leo's last name. It's like an Asian dad naming his son Smith. I think I know a few Smiths. Smith? No, that's not true. I think it's such a common surname that I like kind of just blur together in my head. I remember it was the parody because the mom was having an affair with a mailman who was named Leo. That's great. I love that. I always wondered why my son looked like Thomas from next door. I always wondered why my wife always ate bananas while looking at her neighbor. Hey. How's it? Hey, how's it? Jeff faltered. Hey, you're not still sore about me kicking your ass all those years ago, are you? Jeff said, nudging Jeff. You? Ha 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 ha! No offense, but I'll never forget how you screamed like a little girl. Jeff's confusion quickly turned to hatred for the boy who had once caused him so much grief. Without a word, Jeff reached into his pocket and drew out his knife. Whoa, man! Randy exclaimed. Jared, chill out. Oh, I fucking killed Jeff. I killed you fucking 6 years ago. You and your bitches. Troy and Keith, was it? Jeff was out of patience and wordlessly drove the knife deep into Randy's gut, slashing his stomach and chest open, watching his gut slide out onto the ground. Still, none of the kids in the corridor seemed to notice a damn thing. Dude, Randy complained. Was that necessary? I can't. How you doing, hero number 06? 006. I legit. If you want to hear like a JFK impersonation done perfectly, like again from Clone High, go to Fish Sticks on a Sticks channel, and it was those videos where he was reading the Jeff the Killer remake, the extended edition. And it was so great. And it's so perfect. Because he gave Randy the fucking JFK voice. And because Randy was like a spoiled rich kid. Who almost got... almost his father paid to have a prostitute commit statutory rape. But luckily she didn't follow through. Shocked that he was still alive, Jeff lunged at him, viciously slamming him against a locker. His body slumped to the floor, and Jeff began kicking him hard until his face was unrecognizable and blood splattered everywhere. The F in JFK stands for fish stick on a stick. I mean, I'm not saying that Clone High owes him royalties, but, you know, I'm not saying it, I'm just thinking it very loudly. But Jeff wasn't finished. Without a moment's thought, he drove his hand into Randy's chest cavity and ripped out his still beating heart. This is when the kids started to notice. Yet none of them made a sound. They simply turned to stare at Jeff. Who's talking? I'm assuming this is Jeff talking. Whoa! Oh, you never seen a deaf body before? The kids said nothing, but only stared. Though not at the gore, but at Jeff himself. Then everything began to fade to black. Jeff suddenly woke up. Just a dream. He took a few moments to recover, his breath hitching and his cold heart racing. He sat upright in his seat. This was when he realized that what had woken him. The train had stopped moving. He peered out the window and discovered that the train had reached its terminal. Though he had no idea where he was, he knew it would be a perfect place to begin. He crept into the house through the open window. What house? Like, what? Did this train just, like, stop in front of a random house? Jeff crept... Is there any, like, when it comes to... what's the term? Like, urbanation... Not urbanation, like the layout of cities. There's a word for it. I think it starts with a G. Like, when it comes to, like, city layout, like, how often does, are there houses that are, like, really close by trains? Jeff suddenly woke up. It was okay. He crept into the house through an open window and soon found himself in some sort of living room area. He felt his way around and eventually found the stairs. Slowly he began climbing them, but no sooner had he made it halfway than he heard a sob murmur, almost like a child's voice. He turned around, half expecting to be caught, but the element of surprise was always so much more fast and satisfying so he tried to avoid getting caught. But as his eyes searched the dark room, he saw no one, only an empty blackness in the house. However, Jeff couldn't shake the feeling he was being watched. An unfamiliar sense of dread overwhelmed him for a split second before it happened. The last thing Jeff remembered before he lost consciousness was ice-cold hands pushing him from behind and falling him into the black darkness. Jeff will, like, again, like, this is a very weird, convoluted plan Jane had. Like, okay, I'm going to go to his house, his old house, murder people in cold blood, and leave the baby alive because I out of the kindness of my heart, I'm going to leave the baby to his fate instead of mine. I'll leave him a note, and then he's going to skip town and then come to this random house after taking a train to the midnight train to over to this random fucking house to find people to kill. Oh, Jeff woke in a daze and sore, tied to a chair in what appeared to be a basement of some sort. The apartment my cousin lived in was very close to the tracks, where they didn't have a stop near the building because trains are very loud. I mean, yeah. But then forget the babysitter. I don't think they particularly care about the the certain details. I think they omitted that on purpose. I don't think that was like an accident. Jeff looked up and before him saw. Wait. Oh, you awake! A woman's voice rang out softly in the darkness. Jeff looked up before him and stood a raven-haired, black-eyed beauty. She was inhumanly. If I was any decent drawer, I swear I would like make a fan art of Jane Richardson, frumpy, like slightly balding, smoking a cigarette. Like not even no smoking a cigar. That's more comical. I don't know, like women smoking giant cigars for some reason is an inherently amusing image. I have no idea why. I listen to Alexa reading True Hatered, but I will not spoil how it ends because you need to see it for yourself. Like, oh, that sounds. Oh, don't tease me, big boy. Basically, two from Drawn Together. Yeah, I'm not fucking around. That's actually what I had in mind as I was describing it. See, who the fuck are you? Although Toot's kind of cute when she's not at a if you squint your eyes and if she's way off in the distance. Just give me a few drinks and. A lot of drinks, and pay me. I'd hit it. You have to pay me a significant amount, though. Like I should be able to. I should be able to afford at least a decent rental car. Watching the remake of Aladdin, the part that makes me do a what the fuck when Jasmine began snapping Peter out of existence. Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird when Jasmine put on that weird yellow glove and snapped her fingers and everyone turned to dust. It was fucking weird. I have not seen the Aladdin remake and I do not intend to. With all due respect. She was inhumanly pale with soft features and made Jeff feel a little different. Oh, Jeff. You remember? Who the fuck are you? I'm sorry, who the fuck are you? I don't know. My ability to do voices has diminished over time. I guess if you don't do it that often, you just lose it. He did not like how she was making him feel. You don't recognize me, though I have been following you for a while now, she said, coming closer. I'm Jane the killer. Oh, so you're the bitch that wrote the fucking note. Oh, you have no idea how deep you're in, woman. The slight accent actually kind of worked for that line. Jeff growled maliciously. Me? Remember on Twitch when the artifact category was taken by movies and adult videos? That's how I feel about the Aladdin remake. There's good moments, but it feels like the Cliff Notes version of the 1992 movie. I well, to be like, mine of these characters are underage. To be fair, I think this takes place like years after they initial debut. I think at the time of the original Dread the Killer story, I think it was like 12, 13, or 14. I can't remember exactly. And I think this takes place years later when they're probably of age. Although, I don't know if that's much of an excuse. It's kind of sexualizing character. Like, we gotta age them up so I can justify beating my meat to these characters. I won't read the original Dread the Killer story before the creepypasta was in his 30s. Are you talking about that one that was posted on DeviantArt, like the original like screenshot or whatever? Like not screenshot, but there was the Dread the Killer story was originally made by some dude on DeviantArt, and it had some like details that weren't in the story that kind of came afterwards. Like there was no bleach or vodka. He was like he had acid thrown in his face, which makes a lot more sense. Me, she laughed scornfully. I'm sorry, but who is the one tied to a chair in a goddamn basement right now? Oh, that's right, you! Jeff scowled. He hated that raven-haired, black-eyed whore that stood before him. No one had ever caught him off guard. No one except her. Why was she so special and awesome and sexy and virile? Jeff tugged at his bonds to no avail. Oh no! You're not going anywhere, you son of a bitch! She spat scornfully, now standing over him. I have you now, and now you are not going anywhere. Oh, you bitch! Jeff growled. What was that? Jane responded mockingly. She like leaned in and cupped her ear like a JoJo character, like this thing, like, what was that? He had an incident where he spilled his fast in his face while trying to clean a bathtub. To be honest, that feels more force than the chef that boiled alive in PSI. What? Oh, are you talking about, Mr. Mix or whatever? I think, wasn't there something where in Mr. Mix where it was like some guy poured boiling water on his face, like one of the levels or some shit? Anyone remember Mr. Mix? It was a really stupid story. One of those stories that kind of go way too far when it comes to like expecting you to suspend your disbelief. And I played it's an old game from this certain point in time, and it made me fucking dress up as an Italian chef and murder people. Oh yeah, the Preventer commercial. I don't know why I thought it was Mr. Mix. Maybe I'll read Mr. Mix and see if it's just... Maybe it's actually a really groovy story. Maybe it's hip and it's got attitude. Maybe it's poised and handsome, virile and masculine. Maybe it's a top-tier Chad, slaying pussy all day and night. Although probably none of those things. Okay. Where were we? Oh, what was that? Jane responded mockingly. I am nothing more than a reflection of you. You think you're a big shot? You think you're the big shot around here? Well, you sure about that? I was smart enough to fool you, wasn't I? Jeff said nothing but grunted impatiently. You are here tonight because I led you here. How? Like, how did you know he would come here? Why would you ever assume that he would come here? What significance does this house have over the last one that he was in? And how did you know he would even bungle his way into his own home? His old home? Like, again, you just assumed a lot of things and just all the stacks just fell into place, but you're like, aha. Are you bullshitting? Like, have you been, like, stalking him the entire time, like, following him? With, like, okay, as soon as he goes into that house, I will knock him over the head with this toaster and like tie him up in the nearest basement. Like I think you're making this shit up. You're not impressing anyone, Jane. Well, you sure about that? Oh wait, what's that? You found my note in what was supposed to be your home because I made it happen. You should know that I am what you are, and you should know that it was you who made me this way. Jeff was silent still. Jeff was Silent Hill. Jeff was Silent Hill Homecoming. No, Jeff is Downpour and fucking Jane is Homecoming. No, that's not. No, I take that back. Because I was talking about in terms of gameplay. Like, one has interesting ideas and actually tries to be a little bit different. And the other one is, like, absolute, like, horseshit. But Homecoming unquestionably has one of the best soundtracks in the series, unfortunately. So it raises the question. It makes me think. It makes me raise my brow. It makes me stroke my not even really mustache. Like more of like a congealed peach fuzz and thought. I'm going to assume this version of the story was updated to have better. Yeah, this was on her fan fiction rather than the Just Cats wiki. It makes it a little bit easier to read than. As much as I love staring at cats, I don't know if I could read all this. This seems a little bit longer. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe there's a second chapter. And if that's the case, and there's no second chapter and they kind of cut it short, we'll just, like, look around the original and see if we can find where it originally cut off. Okay. I really ought to thank you for that, she purred, gently stroking the edge of the knife with her long, delicate fingers. Jeff chuckled darkly. You're nothing like me, he said. I see the world for what it is, cold, dark, and eternal, so I end people. Their hurt is my pleasure. No, Jeff, nothing's eternal, she said, placing the cold hand upon Jeff's cheek and patting it on. I honestly thought you know that by now. Once again, Jeff said nothing. Do you believe that I am eternal? I literally just met you. I know nothing about you. Like, I don't even know what you're referencing when you talk about me creating you. I think it would have benefited you to actually, like, introduce yourself by naming off any past interactions we might have had, so that I may properly understand how to address you in the future. Jeff laughed again. You, like I said, you're nothing like me. You're weak and blind, just like all those other poor motherfuckers out there. Jane smiled. And just like I said, I am a reflection of you. Jeff watched the raven-haired woman as she slowly dragged the knife across her supple, pale skin, allowing a small amount of blood to trickle from the wound down her arm. She leaned in uncomfortably close to him. Do you believe that you are eternal, Jeff? Jeff would not speak. Other desires were now at play. More distractions, more complication. Let's face it, there can only be one that may live. Perhaps it is time that we figure out who shall it be. Quite suddenly, Jane pulled the knife on Jeff and held it to his throat. Jeff froze. His head was swimming. Oh, fucking hell, he thought. These distractions will end up costing me my damn life. Just get it together. Is this Jeff literally, like, admonishing himself for getting a boner while he's, like, trying to take this girl seriously? Are you afraid? Jane whispered to him, the blade now lightly touching his own. No. That was a half lie. Part of him was terrified, not so much for his life, but for what she may do to him. But the other part wanted to see what this crazy chick would do. Is Jeff literally? Is this thing like, oh, I hope she doesn't rape me? Like, Is that literally what's going on? Slowly, Jane lowered the knife, a smile playing with her lips. Jeff smirked. You don't have it in you, do you? Suddenly, Jane slapped his arm. This is Jeff's left arm. Jeff yelled in both pain and shock as blood flowed freely from the room. Oh, what the fuck, you bitch! I thought it was only fair to give you a chance, my dear, Jane cooed. But the smell of your blood soothes my soul. I've waited for this, and I'm glad I did. Oh, that really fucking hurts, Jeff growled viciously. Really? Jane mocked. The notorious Jeff the Killer, the notorious B.I.G. Can't even handle a tiny paper cut. Jane shrugged her child out to reveal her bare arms and neck were covered in large scars and some quite fresh. She wore an attractive black dress, and Jeff couldn't help but eye her elegantly curved body. Okay, here we go. He once again... I keep hearing things like going on in the other room. I kept the door open so the cat will not be upset that the door is closed while I'm the only one here. I'll be on. I don't tune in that often to the Stones or Abigail stream. It's not. I just don't find Elysion. I can't find any humor in him after what happened to his kid. I'm sorry. I want him in prison. His 2-year-old fell out of a 2-story window while he was busy like basically drunk texting his exes on Twitter or whatever. Fuck him. Alright, I was like, what is everyone panicking about? I don't see the big deal. Oh, okay. Oh. James smirked. Don't be the one to cause pain if you can't handle it, Jeffrey. Without warning, the raven-haired woman brought her lips to Jeff's open wound and proceeded to trail her tongue gently against his arm. What the fuck are you doing? So I don't even know. What the fuck are you doing? Jeff demanded, unknown sensations possessing him. Jane lifted her head only to meet his eyes and only smiled. Jeff's heart raced. I suppose I should untie you to at least give you a fighting chance, she said. After all, I did bring you here to battle, and this battle must be fair. That's really dumb. Like, don't morally grandstand and then like saying like, oh, give the murderous serial killer who like butchered your family a fair, like, I give you a fair shake. Gonna give you a fair fight. Like, I think it's only honorable that I like make even out the playing field a little bit. Here, take this knife. In fact, take this gun. And 10 paces, and then fire. It was a daughter too, and we all know how Belly Onion treats women. Yep. Jane's challenging Jeff to a Pokemon battle. I wouldn't even go that far. Like, she's challenging him to one of those barcode battles. As soon as he was free, Jeff could think clearly of him. He had no idea why the psychotic bitch would just let him go like that, but he didn't care. He quickly grabbed his knife and faced Jane. You stupid woman! Jeff growled under his breath. You don't really get it, do you? Jane backed away, very conscious of her action. You're not a fucking killer! You're just a silly little girl with a fucked up mind! Jane then approached him again, suddenly appearing from behind. Jeff was once again thrown off course and tripped over something hard, his knees taking the full blow. What blow? Fuck! Each crushed the dog. Jane grabbed Jeff by the hair and yanked his head back to meet her eyes. Oh yes, you're not wrong. I'm fucked up, but only because you are. Jeff leaped up, grabbing Jane by the arm and throwing her to the floor viciously. Oh, by the way, Jane, you owe me big. All your little games cost me precious time. I really don't think you get it. I need to kill, and unlike you, I know how to do a good job at it. Despite being held on the floor, just foot on her chest, Jane laughed. Your victims are usually in... Okay, who's talking? Okay, Jane's talking. Your victims are usually intact. Disembowelment hardly does the job. Your work is sloppy and unplanned. You render them unrecognizable? No. Is that the best you can do? Well, it's better than your pitiful attempt. Jeff only laughed harder. Ha ha ha! Do you honestly think? Ha ha! Ho 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 ho! That slaps me on the knee. Do you honestly think that I would be stupid enough to allow you to view my best work so that you would come prepared? Jeff loosens his grip on Jen. Go to sleep, you say? How sweet. Fucking hell. Jeff continue, managing to break away from Jeff. How about stay awake? With this, Jane slashed a knife across Jeff's leg, causing him to shriek in pain. When you are awake, you will feel pain for longer, much longer. Oh, fuck you pretentious cunt. Jeff growled and began swinging wildly in the darkness as Jane dodged every swing of oh god, I hate this. Too predictable. In an instant, Jeff was behind an unsuspecting, unprepared Jane. He plunged her... Wait, what? In an instant, Jeff was behind an unsuspecting and unprepared Jane, plunging his knife into her leg. How did that happen? Like, how did he suddenly get behind her? When she's, like, doing, like, Anderson Silva-style dodging. Okay, hold on. What am I doing? I just want to bring up an image to... I want to bring up an image so we can visualize this fight as it's taken. No, not slow motion. Come on. No, okay, maybe that one. Okay, maybe Max Holloway is better. Cause that's more recent. Yeah, so this is Jane versus Jeff, everybody. God damn it. I just want one image. There we go. Jane versus Jeff in a nutshell. Here we go. That's beautiful. Couldn't even find a good Anderson Silva gif. I wanted to find when he's fighting Chris White. No, wait. Oh yeah, this is Jeff when she finally catches up to Jane. Right here. That's Jane being all cocky and shit. And that's the fucking stray knife stab that fucking clipped her. I can't imagine how else it would have gone down. That he suddenly like teleports behind her and like, nothing personnel, kid. like, you think this is the real Jeff? It is. That's great. I forgot how great that movie was. Where were... In an instant, Jeff was stabbed in the back. She told me like, oh, son of a... God damn it, son of a bitch! She spat. Jeff only grinned and proceeded to back her up against the wall. Jane, without a moment's thought, reached behind and pulled the knife from her injured leg. She felt blood gush from the wound and winced. Quickly, she lifted the knife to Jeff's throat. He only grinned his horrendous grin. Go on then, he taunted, backing Jane up against the wall. Hurt me! It's only a fucking knife! I've got plenty of knife wounds! Just do it! Do it! Just do it! Jane did nothing. Jeff pressed himself firmly against... Oh, God damn it. I know where this is going. Jane's delicately curved body, pinning her arms. He was shocked at how strange it felt. Electricity seemed to shoot through his body. Can you imagine Jane the killer's parents watching in heaven, or hell, or whatever, wherever they are. Maybe purgatory. Maybe, I don't know, maybe on the river Styx. Who knows where they are? They're watching their daughter, who went through all these experiments to hopefully one day, like, to avenge their brutal and violent deaths at the hands of a blossoming serial killer. And they're watching him, and watching her fight their serial killer, and then the next thing they know, they're watching them. She's fucking him. Like imagine Dragon Ball Z and the story of Bardock, where he has all these visions about his son going on to defeat Frieza, and then one day I guess he goes to visit or look over his son from hell, or wherever he would be. I think he would be in hell, and he sees his son taking it up the ass from Frieza and enjoying it. It's like, oh, I fucking failed. That's kind of complicated. That's an exaggeration and it's obvious embellishment, but at the same time, that kind of happens. Where it's like, fucking, like space. Like my son resurrected Space Hitler to fight in this tournament, and he has no problem with him like being out and about, destroying other worlds. But it is not happening in his part of the universe, so he doesn't mind that much. I mean, he can't really complain. He wasn't there to raise him and teach him right. That's one of those. Well, I mean, you know, even if you were around, you probably wouldn't have. You probably would have done the same thing. I like how people kind of forget that when it comes to Saiyans weren't good people. They were basically space Spartans, except even more savage. Okay, where was I? I'm talking about things I actually enjoy. Electricity seemed to shoot through his body as he heard Jane's breasts grow shallower, her eyes full of contempt. Jeff knew at this instant that he had complete control and he liked it. You see, I read a little ahead. You see, I like you, and I want you. No, we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours. You see, unlike you, when it comes to it, I'll do it. With you, it's all words. Jane lacking the physical strength. What the fuck? What do you mean lacking the physical strength? Like, again, do I need to bring this shit up again? Like, the fucking Matrix shit she was pulling earlier? Fucking dodging, like, all of a sudden, like, she's a fucking pissy little weakling. Like, some level of consistency is all I'm asking for. Then again, this is in character with Jane Arkansas. We're talking shit to Jeff's face 1 minute and judging him, and then the next minute he's like, oh Lord, I have the vapors, I'm fainting. Okay, here we go. I read ahead. Why do people spell Jeffrey as in Jeffrey and Gordon as Gordain? It's one of those great mysteries of life. You can't answer it, brother. You just gotta deal with it. It's just a fact of life. You gotta cope. You gotta just drink and forget. That's the way to live. When it comes to it, Jeff placed a bloody hand on her face. I'll do it. Jeff began to squirm, and Jeff only tightened his grip on him. You know you're right about one thing. Jeff said. Stay awake. Might be a better philosophy in your case. Then Jane unexpectedly brought her lips to Jeff's neck and breathed gently. The sensation startled him to lose his train of thought, and the passion and desire took over. He tucked her clothes and revealed more scars. Jeffrey the killer! I don't know why I accidentally went to accent. Jeffrey the killer. Jane cooed. You want to fuck me, don't you? Jeff stopped. No, beg pardon? Well, I thought this was a fight to the death. Come on, you want some of this sweet, gushy pussy? Come on. This is like, ram it right into me. This is a fight. We're fighting to the death. This is making me very uncomfortable. Come on, Jeff. Follow my fudge tunnel. You gotta glaze my donut. No, with her arms now freeing, Jane slashed Jeff's back furiously, driving the knife in his side. Like I said, I never did like you. Pain now only fueled Jeff's new desire, and he swiftly yanked the blade from his side, pushing Jane firmly against the wall. From there, he delicately carved his name into her already scarred chest, slowly and purposefully. Involuntary tears welled up from Jane's black eyes, and Jeff trailed his tongue along the flesh wound. Jane yelled in pain, but Jeff quickly silenced her with an aggressive kiss fueled with passion and hate. The two dark beings thrashed in darkness hours into the night, both fatally wounded, but neither of them dying. When the dawn finally broke, everything was still. Jane. Jane. A bloodied and beaten Jeff choked in the darkness of the basement. They did not reply. Jeff was grin. Go to sleep. Never. Why does Jane the Kill sound like Rose Chew? No. This reminds me of Rose Chew's voice. That's Thirds Department. That's Sean. I thought this looked longer, but that also might be because of the text is smaller on this one than on fanfiction. Honestly, this is horrible and cringy, but at the same time, he kind of hyped up the ending a little bit to me. Like, I've read worse, like Jeff the Killer versus Michael Myers. The endings of that made me more infuriated than this did. I think that's because I was able to temper my expectations accordingly. That this didn't come nearly as far when it comes to offensive smut garbage writing. And the funny thing is, aside from the stupid plot holes and the weird contrivances, I wouldn't even say this is close to the worst Jeff the Killer story. The stupid sexual bullshit near the end is kind of par for the course for this kind of it's fanfiction.com, you know what I mean? It felt like this was I don't even know how to approach this because I don't want to give the impression that I like this because I didn't. I found it kind of amusing at best. It managed to keep my attention to some degree. It's not terribly written in regards to, you know, again, verbiage and the dialogue and whatnot. Okay, well, the dialogue's objectively terrible. Like this kind of stupid, grandiose bullshit. And again, that's something that's par for the course when it comes to Jeff the Killer stories, where they kind of blow him up into being bigger than he already is. So I don't really care all that much about that. In regards to the relationship between Jane and Jeff, I don't even know if this constitutes because in my mind I'm trying to evaluate this as a horror story, and that's where I kind of conflict with a lot of the fans of the particular series, I guess you want to call it, this character, is that they kind of tend to forget that this is a character that is supposed to allegedly originate from a genre of horror. So I try to evaluate it from the perspective of someone who's like coming into this expecting to be scared, or expecting them to try to at the very least get under my skin. And I don't know if I can apply that specific criteria to this story, because like I was going to criticize the plotting, the weird rush pace, the fact that Jane doesn't really show up until the very fucking end of the story, and I don't really know if that's worth commenting on, because it feels like it was mostly just smut. It was this story feels like it was intended. The ending of the story is basically what the writer was most looking forward to. Is what I'm trying to say. Like that was their idea to crescendo the crescendo of the story, to cap it all off, because that was what they were most interested in. And it feels weird to say that because this is a standard fan fiction, that it shouldn't be critiqued under the purview of being a horror story on the internet when it's a character that's based off a creepypasta. But, I mean, what else am I supposed to say? Like, am I gonna go on to... like, there's a reason why I don't do Fan Fiction Friday or some shit like that, you know? Well, ignoring the fact that it's the lowest of low-hanging fruit... Oh, wait, there's a review here. Ignoring the fact that it's the lowest of low-hanging fruit, what am I supposed to say about a genre that I already don't respect? Like, I can't... It'd be like if... I don't like... I'm not the biggest fan of K-pop, you know? And, you know, the few K-pop artists I actually do listen to, I don't think are... represent much when it comes to the genre. So you'll never catch me like making reviews of K-pop artists, because that's not my realm. That's not where my interests lie. Like the author nodded in the story in the media. Yeah, pretty much. Wow, that was amazing. I loved it. Please keep writing. I can't read more from you. I feel there's something a little bit more interesting. Viterfix, what a name. Do they make any stories? And again, it feels weird. Like, I don't even know if I could say I'm grading on a curve. I just think that this story was just meh. And meh is still drastically better than most other Jeff the Killer stories I've read. Although it does raise a question. Again, I apologize if you hear any like random noises, me adjusting my microphone as I move along. It does raise a question in my mind. And I feel it's an important question. Hold on, let me take a sip of water. Is this story better than the Jeff the Killer remake? And I feel bad for even positing that question, because I don't like Banning. Oh, I think his name is Banning, or Kellen Banning. I think his name was. Let me look it up right now so I don't I don't want to misrepresent him. I'm not a big fan of his, but I want to make sure that at the very least get his name right. Okay, K. Banning Kellum, I think his name was. I feel bad for even positing that question, because it's quite obvious that his reinterpretation of Jeff the Killer comes from a place of honest effort, and it was actually a labor of love, and he put a lot of effort into like creating a narrative and rewriting everything to where it like could stand on in its own in comparison to the original story and actually have an identity all its own. But I'll be honest, I actually prefer this stupid smut story over anything he's ever written. I don't know, my biggest problem with Banning is that it's just that it's like, I remember when I was watching Fish Stick on a Stick read, I remember watching him read the longer version, the uncut version of the Jeff the Killer remake. Well, I think he was just covering one of the stories. It could be, hold on, let me actually look that up. I'll look up Fish Stick on a Stick's channel to make sure I can Fish Stick on Us. The funny thing is, Fish Stick on a Stick's gaming channel is much more popular than his normal channel. But the first thing that still comes up is his normal channel. Oh, yeah, on the search results. Yeah, it's called Scars of Corruption. And as much effort is put into that, like, I remember I was on that stream, and I brought up the point, like, there was that moment where Randy, like, his father had, like, solicited a prostitute to sleep with him when he was still underage. and yeah, like this is the whole part takes place. It's Randy describing the incident and how the prosecutor just sat down and talked to him, and she didn't want to like do it because she knew it was wrong, and speaking with her taught him all kinds of lessons, and it's one of those moments where this is. I could imagine this being a very interesting story in and of itself of a young man talking to a prostitute, like airing his laundry, and she's like laying into him for taking advantage of the privileges that he has. But instead, we're getting a summarized version of something that's much more interesting than the story that we're being forced to read. And I don't know, I in general, like, I think that's my problem with them is that his story just like bores the shit out of me. I personally like the Jeff the Killer remake, but I can see the point that Fish Stick and Stick made that everyone is made terrible in comparison to Jeff. Let's make everyone feel sorry for him. I think I wouldn't even mind that so much if it wasn't for the flat characters. Every character is like one note and kind of flat, and you see later on in the story, like when we go into Randy's backstory and why he is the way he is. I think it was intended to inject nuance into the character, but it does. It's kind of like a cheap shot to compare it, but it's like Abby from The Last of Us Part 2. It's like too little, too late. Like you had a terrible introduction to this character. You made him out to be like as cartoonishly over the top evil as possible, and there was no flinting hint of nuance to begin with. So I don't care where you go from here. The funniest thing I forget to mention is that Jeff the Killer remake fails as a creepypasta and is not scary. And that always like brings the question up, like, why even bother? Like, the whole point of creepypasta is to be a horror story. It's supposed to be like something that keeps you up at night and like really sends chills to your bones. But anytime I see people talk about Jeff the Killer as a character, or anytime he's in a story, it's always in relation to like, oh, he's so cool. Or he's so, like, oh man, Jeff is so awesome. Like, none of these, I don't think any of these people are actually genuinely frightened by the character or any of the fiction that gets put out regarding him. And that bothers shit. Wait a minute, what's it? Hold on. Kay Banning apparently flirting with teenage fans of his. Is that true? Is that... Wow, like again, that's a very like harsh accusation. So, do you have anything to back that up? I'm not admonishing you. I really like. I want to know. I trust that you're telling the truth, but you know, I would rather that not be true. If that makes sense. God, he's written so many fucking books about Jeff the Killer. How old is this guy? At least not the Sonic.exe remake. No, Banning I'll say this like in Banning's defense, like you read his stories and it's quite obvious that he has a vision and he has genuine talent. Like, I think that much has been is evident in his writing. Again, I'm not a fan of his writing, but he has an understanding of like structure and he has interesting ideas at the very least. His ability to actually execute his vision is questionable, but you know, I think that it's just him putting his energy into certain aspects of a story that don't really benefit it. Ooh. Yeah, I found his Twitter. I'm not liking what I see. Like Creepy Licks uncovered it some of the time. Okay, hold on. Do I still have Creepy Leaks? I took down that stream because I found it cringe. I'll be honest. I found it, like, I want to make it clear. I'm not like disavowing anything I said in Creepy Leaks, except for one moment that I really don't like thinking about. And I think that was like after fucking Vincent Vinicava was making comments about Slime Beast, and he was like making a snide, passive aggressive comment about Slime Beast's mom. And at the time, Slime Beast was living with his mom to take care of her, and she's like wheelchair bound. I don't know, God willing, I hope she's doing better nowadays. And as someone who, and I'm not trying to bolster myself or trying to make myself feel good or seem better, but I'm just talking about from my perspective. As someone who dropped out of high school, was like trying to look after my mom because her health wasn't doing so good, her health was getting worse as time went on. It actually like triggered the fuck out of me, and I actually like almost lost my shit on stream, and I actually started tearing up because I was so angry. I mean, I get it's an embarrassing response to a really pathetic comment by a usually spiteful dickhead. Like, Vincent Vinicava is a fucking psycho. Like, again, in the grand scheme of things, the only thing that happened was that this guy said, I don't want you monetizing readings of my book, even though the story that you're reading is quite popular. And instead of just like saying, okay, he actually like had dreams about and this is on record, this is not like I'm making this shit up. He actually was on record saying that he like had thoughts of like actually murdering Slime Beast. I don't know if it could be worse than Blood Whistle, but JC Diana doesn't disappoint. Blood Whistle is just really boring. Some of the EXE is like at least laughably bad. Hold on, let me take this off screen. Let me put something more interesting over here. Yeah, the vortex. We're back in the vortex, boys. Wonderful. Hold on, can I combine this image? No, that's not good enough. I think the vortex will do. I consider reading Blood Whistle, but it just is not interesting to warrant much in a way of conversation, honestly. Like, I read stories to either be engrossed or have fun, and if I'm neither, then what's the point, you know? Also, I still stand by my theory that Blood Whistle was made to like take the piss out of like the genre of like lost, found footage horror stories on the internet, or found footage like I don't know. I was looking at GIF as I like trailed off. To be honest, I miss the days when it was just funny bad stuff like Such Words and Truth About My Death, where it was fun to laugh at. And then they walked on the night, and then they watched The Dark Knight on the. I forgot that moment. Yeah, the days where it was like. I think it's like a weird thing now where creepypasta, like the people like, and again, I'm not trying to shit talk Banning for his hustle. If he can profit off of it, he should, like, why not? But I think it's now that creepypasta and like authors out there are like are focusing on actually like getting their stuff monetized. I think that kind of created like this kind of weird climate where people are much more serious about, and like they take themselves so much more seriously. And I would say that's a good thing, but it's almost to a fault where it feels like they can't really like. I don't know. You lose something of yourself when you take yourself too seriously. Like, it's very, very clear that JC Hyena thinks the way to improve the story is to add detail upon detail upon detail. Yeah, that's a weird thing about JC JC Hyena, I would argue that he has improved from his first story, but he's also still too naive to he's too naive in the sense that he still believes that his story can be salvaged, and he doesn't realize that a story about evil Sonic is intrinsically just laughable on the face of it. And it doesn't help the way he characterizes everyone, is that everyone's a Sonic fan, or everyone is like peripherally aware of Sonic at the very least. I don't know, like there's a lot you could say about Jason. Like you can't quantify how terrible of a writer he is in regards to his plots and his characterization and all that shit. He's just a really bad writer. Does Local 58 count, or is it considered an ARG? That's the only good internet horror I've seen in a long time. Look, that sounds familiar. Hold on, let me look that up right now, actually. Oh, is that the TV show? I've heard of this, but I've never seen it. Animator Chris Strupp. Wait a minute. That also sounds very familiar. Okay. Also in the day from Paul Verhoeven. Hold on, I'm looking into it right now. If I had more stuff, I'd make it so I could tell you it's times more scared than it already is. I tried looking up what you were talking about, and in terms of like banning. Hold on. Teenage. No, I'm not seeing anything on the Creepy Wicks thing. I like how Slime Beast start the whole thing off by saying that he was saying that, obviously inspired by Change the Channel, hashtag Change the Channel, but like he compliments it like, oh, it's not nearly as good, where his document unquestionably has more legitimate grievances that actually like had merit when you actually looked into it. And you look at Change the Channel years later, and you actually like examine it and like actually look into some of the claims made, like a fair amount of the claims made, and you realize that a fair amount of them was horse shit or like petty nonsense, like dreamt up by manic people. The only legitimate thing that I think came out of Change the Channel, or anything that was worth commenting on, was the whole shit with Drew Wario, and that's it. I'm glad Change the Channel came out just so we know about who Drew Wario really was and how we should regard him from that point on. So any questions from the Peanut Gallery? Anyone have anything to say about the story we read? Anyone have any suggestions for the next stream? Like something I could cover with you guys tagging along for the ride. I do so enjoy having an audience, a captive audience, so I can't suffer alone. James Jones was depicted the management as incompetent, and people could jump ship with the YouTube before their partnership program. As all, I don't know, like a fair amount of their. I'm also maybe I'm biased because I'm also seeing where these people are years after the fact, and almost none of them move on, and they keep bringing up Doug, like related to nothing with no transition whatsoever. Fucking Link. I always point out Link Carr as a particular example because he comes off as like such a fucking snake. I cannot stand that dickhead. Even getting past the cringeworthy content that he puts out and the weird, stupid takes that he puts out. I don't know, like, that fucker sat on like apparently because you remember like initially he started like well I'm staying in the Channel Awesome so I, to change it from the inside out. I'm trying to be the offer change. Like I have no qualms with Doug, and then the very fucking second it becomes beneficial or enough people like jump off, all of a sudden he has all these problems he had with Doug and he wanted to air it. And most of the time you see him on Twitter, he's talking shit about how, I do this better than Doug. My crappy Atop the Fourth Wall movie was so much better just to boldly flee. No, Lewis, they both suck. You're no better than him. You're fucking pathetic. And it's weird, like, again, it's one of those things where I kind of respect the hustle, but I hate this stupid fucking ego that forms with this holier than thou attitude that is formed based on nothing. These people apparently knew for years about the issues that were plaguing the company. They didn't care when it was beneficial to them, or they felt it was beneficial to them. And the moment that it became like trendy to buck Channel Awesome, they can't climb out of the woodwork and start talking all this shit. That's one of the reasons why I like Iron Liz so much. Iron Liz, like, I think she was on a stream, and she, like, the dirt she probably has on Lewis and Channel Awesome, like, she would have been an instant, like, person of interest on the internet, like, the moment she spilled any of it. But she even said, like, those were people that I considered friends for years. What kind of fucked up person would I be if I just, like, out of spite said all this shit? Like, that's not normal behavior to just, like, do that to people you once considered friends and, like, family members. But, like, she's the only person with, like, anything resembling a consistent moral compass, it seems. Have you considered the Harvard? Have you ever covered the Harbinger experiment? Interested to know how you think about that after the Russian sleep experiment stream. Oh, I think I heard about that. I don't know that much about it. Hold on. Looking it up right now. Oh, it's a creepypasta? Oh, it's fairly lengthy. Oh, not too long, actually. So I'm just looking at this. It's also curious. I have not covered the Harbinger experiment. Obviously not, because I didn't know what it was when you asked me about it. I'm looking at the images for it, and it does look kind of interesting. I would say that the image that depicted is a lot more interesting than the fucking oh so spooky statue. Not statue, the emaciated man from the Russian sleep experiment things. I love how, what the fuck, like a Russian sleep experiment. People also search for the Rake film. Okay, book called The Harbinger, and George Zimmerman. Never change Google. Okay. I'm looking at, I'm actually looking at videos right now, trying to see what I can potentially riff off in future streams. I would like to do, like, movie streams where we just watch and, like, laugh along and, like, make fun of that shit. Or we get the lads together, me, MD Phantasm, and Fish Stick on a Stick. The neighborhood watch experiment. That's cold, man. That's George Zimmerman was a straight up creepypasta. Well, I mean, have you seen his face? I just remember I made a George Zimmerman joke in the fucking first video I ever did with Bad Creepypasta. Freeze, who are you? George Zimmerman, chief of the neighborhood watch police. It's not even a joke, it's like a reference to Film Cow. Oh, I'm just looking at Banning's fucking thing right here. He has a Wikipedia dedicated to all his shit. I don't know. I'm not punching down at the guy. He's managed to make a semi-successful career out of making Jeff the Killer stories, which I honest to God never thought I would say, and with any bit of sincerity. A career out of Jeff the Killer. That's... I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, that's one thing I hated. I fucking despised about the K. Banham, like the Jeff the Killer remake, you know, the Scars of Corruption, that line, like, Don Wilson, my brother's third fin embodied so much corruption that one think of a poorly written fiction. And granted, he's not wrong. Like, the first Jeff the Killer story was poorly written, but I don't know how to put this. Like, it doesn't matter what your I'm not punching down the author of the play. You just gotta hit me below the belt, don't you? It's just fucking stone cold. Like, Mike, you got no chill whatsoever. What was I saying? I think it's a general rule of thumb for me. When it doesn't matter what you're making, like a remake of or a reboot of, I don't care how much you don't care for it. Maybe you're making it out of spite to one up the person who wrote it, who originally penned the story or made the movie that you're like trying to recreate and put your own little spin on. I think it behooves you to defer some level of respect to that to the original work, and regard it with the respect that it's, whether you like it or not, earned. Like, I think that's one of the biggest problems people have with reboots in general, like, especially in this modern day and age, is this need to constantly, like, smear shit over the past and, like, almost shame you for enjoying it to begin with. And again, this is coming from me, of all people, someone who will happily, readily take a dump on the original Jeff the Killer I want, but I'm not making a new work. I'm not putting anything out there that's supposed to supplant what people already, for the most part, enjoyed. So, yeah, but if I was put in that position, if I did task myself with writing a new Jeff the Killer story and trying to improve upon it, I would try to pay some respect to the original, no matter how much I don't like it. Although, to be fair, like, I don't, maybe I'm biased because the original Jeff the Killer story was at least entertaining and over the top. And this one, I don't know. Respect the original work. Are you listening, Ryan? Yeah, pretty much. Like, it doesn't matter how much you, like, disdain you have for it. You have to, like, I remember there was, one of the fucking, it was like a sequel to Power Rangers, one of the newer seasons. And I think it was like that car one? RPM, was it? Where the guy coming in to direct the series wasn't a fan of Power Rangers, knew nothing about it, really. And, he kind of saw it as just like some kiddie shit. But once he came along, he did everything he could. He watched every single episode from every single series up to that point to get a frame of reference and jot shit down so he could make the best possible adaptation that he could. And RPM to this day is still considered one of the better Power Ranger series because of the effort he put in to remember all this shit. And sometimes, like, and when he poked fun at like a lot of the conventions from the previous episode, he did it in an almost playful manner, like, you know, almost like he was in on the joke, like he was one of the fans. That's how you go about doing it. That's how you like inundate yourself to a new fandom. Like, I think he would go down like being remembered fondly for his contribution to the fandom. In the meanwhile, you have like the Jeff the Killer remake, which constantly feels the need to shit on the old one. And again, like, the old one is not good, and I think a lot of the comments are justified, but I just don't like this mentality. I think it's like an inherent smugness to it. Like, even listen here, an idea is a bunch of suburban kids shooting someone over a fight. That's a work of fiction if there ever was one. Oh, har har har. Like, and keep in mind, this isn't an inner city neighborhood. It's supposed to be a very safe and crime-free suburb. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about... Yeah, I mean, again, like, that story, it's stupid, it's over the top, and it's fucking silly. But, just it paid it... It sounds weird. It paid its dues. It sounds weird to say it like it's a fucking cop that's just trying to get his pension, but you gotta take it slow and actually pay... It's nothing wrong with paying homage, but, like, when you take that kind of smarmy tone with like in talking about the works of the past, you open yourself up to even greater criticism, in my opinion. Okay, I will say one mean thing about Kellen. I mean, he's up in age, but this homeboy looks old. Old gentleman. Like, I remember when I was looking up the images to see what came up when I entered, like, his name in the Jeff the Killer. I think it was like a link to his Twitter, and I was actually like taken aback at how like aged he looked. That's mean to say. It's like this is not a bully stream. That's why they need to comment on it because I'm an asshole. Seriously, I don't got a problem with Bell. Like, he might be a really cool guy, and I don't know. And I don't have the best first impression of him based on his interactions with Slime Beast. I think I can find it like right now. Actually, I don't know if he kept it up or was on private or something. Yeah, it was like a 2 hour. I can find it on the. It's on YouTube still. It's like 3 years ago, and it was a discussion that he had with Slime Beast, I think, about his work, and I think it was like, okay, a while back, the Skype conversation was bound on Jeff the Killer 15 over what I see as harassment over a bad review of his story. Callum agreed to a posting recording if he countered everything he said here. Callum agreed to posting this recording if he countered everything said here. Recently, the disagreement flared up again and started the harassment over again with another videos in. Callum denied spreading the information of the second party, but was later confirmed that he did. Since Callum spread this info to others, I consider it a violation of our agreement to go separate ways, and he would not counter our points agreed to this conversation. Sorry for the back. Yeah. So Callum, yeah, that was, I remember. I don't remember like the exact details, but Callum kind of came off as Weasley in that entire interview, and it's one of those things where your gut tells you something isn't right, and like you're leery, you cock an eyebrow, you furrow your brow a bit, and like you slump over in your chair and you lean in and you place your hand on your chin and stroke it thoughtfully, and you just feel like something. I feel like I'm being sold a bill of goods here. And that's the feeling I get when I watch those interviews. It doesn't help that he was also in that conversation with Vincent Vinacava, who was, again, unquestionable, like, unrepentant scumbag. I'll just don't mind me, ladies and testicles. And honestly, when it like makes a big thing done, like, and honestly, like, in regards to who I trust more when they tell me that I'm telling the truth, like, I'm more inclined to take Slime Beast's side when it comes to a certain issue, and it's not even because I'm not like even that cordial with I'm fairly cordial with him. I get along with him relatively. You know, we don't talk really often at all, but and I think that at times he can be a bit abrasive when he feels like he's been wronged by someone. And I think sometimes can be a bit too quick to jump to assume maliciousness on the part of someone who he feels wronged him. But I can always, and I mean this sincerely, I can always trust Slime Beast to tell the truth and be open about things. That's the best thing I could ever say about a person. Like that kind of honesty is like a rare to find in a lot of people, especially with an audience, a relatively large audience, I would say. Like I think he's fairly well known within the particular sphere he's in, so you know. And he's a lot more honest than a lot of other fucking people within the creepypasta shit. Yeah, right there. Abrasive. All my interactions with Slime Beast, I never got the feeling he was a liar. Abrasive and aggressive, but never a liar. Exactly. And honestly, again, as I mentioned this a dozen times before, but once he explained his past interactions with other people and how I can see why he would assume the worst nowadays, because there's a lot of fucking assholes in this fandom. Although I don't even know that's a creepypasta thing. I think that's a consequence of any fandom period. Like, it gets inundated with people who will usurp it, twist it into something that they can profit off of, and then they take a no, get out of here. And then they take a shit on the people who came before them when they don't feel the need. Like, they sort of, they basically use up all their purpose and they're not worth anything anymore. Get out of here. Sit down and be quiet. Cat just came in. Shh, quiet. Okay, you know what? You bothered me, so you're not gonna get off that easy. Come here. Hold on. I put my handsome face on screen for just a brief moment. One second. You felt the need to perturb me. You felt the need to disturb me. And now you will suffer the consequences. When will you understand, feline, that your actions have consequences? Hold on there. Oh, I'm trapped in the vortex. Come here. Come here, stinky boy. Come on. Come on. Come here, big man. Oh my goodness, look at this big strap. Oh shit. Big strapping lass. Hello to the audience. Hello. Hello, yeah. This is big little man. Big little Jinxie. Yeah. Don't scratch that. My sister got two, like, this was I think a Christmas gift. This microphone right here. And she got one for me and one for her. And this little fella destroyed the mesh for the microphone that they had. That's wonderful. Oh, well, hold on. I can't just... Oh. I don't know what I'm doing. All right. Welcome to the world of business. Everyone just stopping on each other to get the money. Yeah, that's one of the things that annoy the shit out of me when it comes to fandom nowadays, is that I don't think people understand it's very easy to get usurped by all these different... Like it's like when people assert their politics into modern day like remakes or reboots, and I don't think people understand that. It's not coming from anywhere earnest or honest. It's coming from a place where they feel that by doing that they can profit somehow. It benefits no one but themselves, and they don't care about like who it may or may not, whose careers it might hinder, like for the sake of it. Like it's very obnoxious. It's this real self-serving attitude, and you don't always profit. Okay, come here. Come here. Come on. Okay. He really likes being rubbed by this thing for some reason. Yeah, little man. Come over here. Over here. Over here. I refuse to rub him with my hands as much as I used to because he fucking scratched me on the nose when I like picked him up one time. Come on, you gotta get okay. You gotta shoot. Shoot, come on, come on, go, please go, please go, go on, shoot, or just go over there and just be quiet for a bit. All right, your bowl's full. You got water. You should be fine. That's why I never wanted to go into business as a career. I think you can keep your moral center. It's hard to when it comes to business because it's kind of a unspoken rule. You have to step on some necks if you want to really succeed. I'm not speaking from a place of experience, obviously. No one who looks like me is going anywhere near a corporate ladder. But I don't know. I think we're seeing. Like, I don't think creepypasta is dead because that would imply that I don't know, like it's been getting more and more stagnant as of late in regards to the enthusiasm people have for it. Even like very popular channels like hold on, I think I can bring it up right now. Hold on. Right now I think I could be wrong about this. In terms of creepypasta related content, not just horror itself, hold on. Let me just make this window a little bit smaller while I bring up the window back up. Did I do it right? Okay, what's happening here? Oh, wrong one. There we go. Okay. 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 Hello? I could be wrong about this, and correct me if I'm wrong. For Mr. Creepypasta is I guess, the front runner of creepypasta as of late, or in general, and considering his metrics, and I think for the most part, yeah, look at this. His subscriber count has not increased in quite some time, I don't think. You see, like, monthly subscriber gain, like, it's dipped really hard around this time. Wait, what? That's a sharp increase. Where did that come from? Hold on. Can I move this? No, back up. How do I back up? Reset zoom, okay. Like, yeah, it's dipped. It's dipped hardcore, and you can see it. This one right here. Blah, 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 blah. It's like a roller coaster almost. Up, way down here. Dipped. I think that was around the time where Creepy Leaks came out. And right here, like, it's fine now, but for a channel that gets up to like close to 1 million subscribers, and he's lucky nowadays to get like 100,000 views a video. Okay, you need to hush, mister. Go on, sit. Just sit down. Just sit down and be quiet. Just for a little bit. Yeah, it's not. It kind of shows that the genre itself is, well, a genre, but the fandom isn't waned. It's just, again, it's kind of just there. It exists. It kind of exists for the sake of existing now. I'm trying to think. Like, are there any? Can anyone give me a name of? Okay. Most popular creepypasta. Fuck off. I want to go. I'm going based purely on metro. Fuck off. Like, can anyone in the chat actually give me like an actual like statistic showing of who? Again, not just horror. It has to be creepypasta specifically because creepypastas are kind of in their own weird genre, their own little circle out. Like, it's in the bubble of horror, but it's also in its own weird little subsection. You know what I mean? Why is there a thing of Cropsy? Maybe. Okay, why not block for Mr. Creepypasta? Yeah, I think Mr. Nightmare. I think Mr. Nightmare still gets good metrics. Hold on. Oh, that's. I didn't mean. Okay. Mr. Nightmare, Bill Maher's evil twin from the mirror dimension. Okay, I think this is the wrong Mr. Nightmare. Wow, the times are really hard for Mr. Nightmare. He can't even get 200 subscribers now. Isn't that sad? Yeah, here we are. Yeah, he's doing alright for himself. Although, does he do, like, is it creepypasta related specifically, or is it, again, we're trying to cover something that's specifically related to the subsection of creepypasta. But many business, okay, I'm just reading this chain. Find what sucks unless you, oh, sorry, let's pick this up. Many of these business degree graduates also have MDAs, don't care about the customers, don't care about their employees, don't even care about the company they're selling. All they care about is the money, and the worst thing you can chase after is money because it brings the worst in people. Most creepypasta people now have transitioned to RNG or lost media. Yeah, that's true. And that kind of bugs me. Like, I love, like, horror videos and, like, lost media, and I love that too, but I loved seeing people craft stories, you know, like basically horror fiction, like online. Like, it hasn't gone away, like, but like I'm sorry, it's just, horror fiction, like creepypasta, it used to be relatively niche. I think now it's kind of blossomed into something that it hasn't, like, gone as big as it could have for multiple reasons, but yeah, now we're done. It's done. Like, interest is basically waned. No, I don't think as many people care about making horror stories as they used to. I don't know if, wait, horror YouTube, okay, horror YouTube channel, okay. I like John Wolfe. I was just confused for a second. Like, he doesn't read creepypasta. Okay. Probably don't do a stream of copyright in case of copyright. Probably don't do a stream in case of copyright. But Local 58 is all on YouTube about a good 1 minute runtime with the online horror. Okay, Mister. Okay. You want to end the stream? Let's end the stream, okay? Are you happy now? Oh, if you hear him, like, you want to end the stream, like, yeah, come here. Come here. So, we're going to cap the stream off right here, guys. I've kind of bloviated long enough. I don't really have much to say otherwise. You can hear me, like, stuttering over myself. So, I think that's a good sign that I should just kind of just end things right here and there. Come on. You better come here if you've been interrupting all this time. Gotta say goodbye to the audience and apologize for interrupting my oh-so prestigious, oh-so clean and immaculate show. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Get on screen. Get on screen. Come on. You! You're a stubborn little bastard. Come on. Come on. Come on. You know you want to? Okay, fine. I'm just going to ignore you. We're going to sit here in silence until the cat comes right here. Right where I can pick him up. Because I'm not reaching all the way back there to pick you up. I'm not working all that. I did my hour routine today. Picking you up. You try to pat me on the leg? You son of a gun. Look at that, sir. Come here. Okay, that's it. I'm tired. Oh, God, you're so big. Stop purring. I'm being serious. So, hello. Say goodbye like, oh, my name is Jinxie. I am very sorry for interrupting the stream. Say it. No, no kisses. Stop purring. I'm serious. I'm mad at you now. I'm going to admonish you later. So, this has been Vince 12 signing in, or signing out, whatever. I don't know how to end streams. I hope you guys had a wonderful time. And, hold on, I've decided, I made an executive decision, that from now on, I'm going to end every stream on one specific clip from one of my personal heroes. So I'm going to try to pull it up as fast as I can. No, don't leave yet. We're almost... Gotta try to bring it up real quick. Let me turn this music off. Oh, I actually have my... I think I have my favorites. Hold on.
It was all in good fun, and I certainly hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. If I did, f*** them.
There we go. That's how I've always wanted to end the stream. Take it easy, everyone.